There's an old joke they tell. You know, I don't know if you should always repeat old jokes. Some of you can tell if it's withstood the test of time, but just tell it anyways. In Boston, there was a Jewish rowing team, part of a rowing club, that really were just not matzliach. They couldn't keep up with everyone else. So they decided they should get some tips. So they decided they'll send one of their representatives, they'll go check out Harvard's rowing team. That was the Spitz rowing team, that is the best rowing team. They'll send someone to watch them. They're not competition, but fine. So he comes back and he says, Chavra, I understand. He said, we have any tips? He said, we've been doing it all wrong. He said, what do you mean all wrong? We've been training, we've got the workout, we've got the backs into it. So he says, I know we're doing all wrong. In Harvard, 8 guys row and 1 guy screams. By us, 8 guys scream and 1 guy rows. That's... I don't know if it's a Jewish joke, but okay. Just thinking about this in terms of teamwork. Normally I try and, weave somewhere into the Shmuze some reference to basketball, but the Teal's coming up, that's the big basketball coming out party, we're just going to go straight for it. Let's wind back the clock a little bit. Prior to the 2003-2004 NBA season, the LA Lakers were heavily favored to win the championship. They'd won the last 3 out of the 4 years. They had the unstoppable force of Kobe Bryant. They had an immovable object of Shaquille O'Neal. They had the triangle offense, legendary coach Phil Jackson. Alamilas. And then they added to the arsenal. They added 2 outstanding Hall of Fame players, Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Stacked team. Stacked. They went through the season, made it to the finals, and they're playing against the Detroit Pistons, 2004 NBA Finals. The Pistons were coached by Larry Brown. Larry Brown is a Hall of Famer in his own right. Jewish, by the way, also. And the Pistons just killed it. The Pistons won 4-1. How'd they do that? The Pistons did not have a single player who could match up the Lakers. Not a single player. So, what was the Pistons' secret? So, it's really 2 points, but 1 point we'll divide it into 2, just for presentation purposes. One is that, and maybe we should just add, the secret to their success was that they had no secrets. There was no secret. Step number 1, principle number 1, is they just did what you're supposed to do. They play defense. Who likes to play defense anymore? They ran after every loose ball. They dove on the floor. They jumped up for every rebound. They just did the things they're supposed to do. They just played solid, fundamental basketball. Now, some people, it wasn't so fun to watch. Okay, the critics have their critics. If you're a purist, it was beautiful to watch. But that's what they did. They were just solid, fundamental game, and they won. The other thing they did was they realized early on that they had no chance to defeat the Lakers playing one-on-one, because any individual player would lose to the Lakers. So what did they do? They did what you're supposed to do. They played team ball. They made the extra pass. They covered for each other on defense. They communicated. That was it. In other words, there were no secrets. They just did what you're supposed to do to win a basketball game and to win a basketball series. And just by doing those basic things you're supposed to do, the teamwork, running for the ball, they defeated the powerhouse Lakers. Just like that. I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned from this. Really related to our parsha. Parsha begins, Ve'ela mishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. These are the mishpatim, these are the laws. Rashi points out that the vav, ve'ela mishpatim, is a chibur. It connects. It connects what we had in last week's parsha, Parshas Yisro, to what we have in Parshas Mishpatim. Now, and therefore, says Rashi, what the Torah is telling us is, just like what we experienced last week was a Har Sinai experience, so too the halachas that we're going to have in Parshat Mishpatim, that's also from Har Sinai. Oh, very nice. Now, what Rashi's presumably coming to deal with is a natural differentiation we might make between Parshas Yisro and Parshas Mishpatim. Parshas Yisro is very exciting. There's a sound and light show. There's a lot of build up to it. In the air, you can feel it. There's national revelation. There's a lot going on in Parshas Yisro. Parsha Mishpatim, pretty mundane type of stuff. I mean, I don't know how many of us you have oxes, but it's pretty mundane type of stuff, pretty everyday type of stuff. Those of us that learn Makos maybe would find it exhilarating because it's a nice Chazar of Makos. Yeah, it's a little, or it's a Chazar of Makos, maybe even more exhilarating. That's Chazar. But for those of us that are not exhilarated by Makos, Rabbi Kama, Rabbi Metzia, Ksuvas, as well. So what's exciting about Parshat Mishpatim? Oh, till you get to the end, Nasa v'Nishma. Oh, Har Sinai Part 2. That's what I'm interested in. In between, okay, I just have to, get through it. So it says Rashi, the emphasis of Ve'ela Mishpatim is to tell us that these things are also from Har Sinai. Fine. There's a footnote that they write in the Emes Liakov from Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky on Divrei Hayamim, where Rav Yaakov said that Rav Yaakov would always come back to this story that he once witnessed when it came to Parshat Mishpatim. Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky learned for many years in Slobodka Yeshiva, and he was once witness to an episode with Rav Moshe Mordechai, who was the Rosh Yeshiva, and also the Dayan in Slobodka. So two people came for Din Torah. They were debating whose cow is this, I don't know, whatever it was. And Rosh Mordechai Paskin, the halacha is, Shulchan Aruch says that it goes to Reuven, whatever it is. So afterwards they were walking out of the Din Torah, and Shimon, I guess, who lost, said to Reuven, and said in earshot of Moshe Mordechai and Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, he said, this was a bit of a joke. This wasn't logical. This psak doesn't really make any sense. So Moshe Mordechai got very upset, grabbed him by the arm, and he said, do you think what just happened in our quote-unquote courtroom was that we were trying to figure out who this item belongs to? We weren't trying to figure out who this item belongs to. The item belongs to Kadosh Baruch Hu. All we were trying to figure out is, who does Hashem want to hold on to this item? That's all we were figuring out. Said Rav Yaakov Kamenetsky, that's Parshat Mishpatim encapsulated in a nutshell. These things, which seem to be very mundane, how much do you owe, whose ownership is it, that's not just, some way that we have to have society operating, but this is Hashem expressing Himself. Just like we had at Har Sinai, just like we had in Parshas Yisro, we also had in Parshas Mishpatim. Now, we might take this, and I think this was an incorrect way, but we might say, oh, you know what? Parshas Yisro, that's really where it's at. It's really exciting. I really feel connection. It's unrealistic to live a Parshas Yisro life. So you have to do? You have to make the best of it and live a Parshas Mishpatim life. You have to, in the mundane, regular elements of our lives, so you have to infuse some level of meaning because it's unrealistic that you live a Parshas Yisro life. That's what some people might say. I think that's correct to a degree, but ultimately falls short. Because if that's the case, then why would I ever strive for a Parshas Mishpatim lifestyle? Shouldn't I just go for the gold? Shouldn't I go for Yisro? Shouldn't I go for the moments of tremendous inspiration, the moments of tremendous connection? Why should I say, oh, you know what, I'm going to settle. I'm going to start out my life settling. It's not going to be big moments of connection. It'll be parav. It'll be okay. Imagine if you in the romantic sphere. Oh, I'm not looking for romance. I'm not looking that we should love each other. As long as we get along, that's totally fine. No one would say that. Hey, there's ups and downs. There's regular life. But who's going to say, I'm just looking that we don't scream and yell at each other all day? That's not what we're looking for. So, to say, Parshas Mishpatim is just a bidi eved nebach, you can't live a real life of Parshas Yisro, I think that's incorrect. I think the answer or an approach is just coming back to the Pistons, 2004 Pistons. How did the Pistons win? Just doing the regular day, everyday things. What did the Pistons do? They did the things that no one pays attention to. They ran after the ball when the ball's running out of bounds. They ran after the ball. When the ball's on the floor, they all dove on the floor. These are things are just the basic things. If you do the basic things, you'll ultimately be able to conquer the Goliath of the Lakers. You'll ultimately be able to conquer the challenges that appear in our lives. I think this is maybe what the Gemara means. I think according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Gemara Bava Kama, Gemara has three opinions. If you want to become a chassid, you want to be a high-level spiritual personality, then according to one opinion, you should learn Bava Kama. Nezikin, Bava Kama, Parshas Mishpatim. Why? The Gemara is telling us this is not a bidi eved. This is not just, if you're stuck, so this is how you operate in the world. This is lechatchila. This is an approach and a derech and a way that we should engage with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbi Friend had a beautiful word once. He said that some people get very excited and they prepare a lot for big events. There's Purim coming up, we have Tu B'Shvat, there's Pesach, there's Shavuos. Oh, all night Shavuos learning I could do. That's a big thing we heard in Yeshiva, we get pumped up for it, great. And there's Rosh Hashanah, there's Yom Kippur, and there's Ne'ilah. And said, very friend, what about learning with your kids every night? What about homework? Oh, that's nothing. Or, maybe some of us are not at that stage. What about coming to Shacharis in the morning? Oh, so Ne'ilah, who's going to miss Ne'ilah? You're sick? Okay. Who's going to miss Kol Nidre? Stam? I slept in, I wasn't feeling it. But how many times do we say that for Shacharis? Mincha, I was doing something else, I didn't make Mincha, I'll dive in my room, I'll work it out. These are the basics. These are the basic things. And Rabbi Fran's point was that we get so focused on the big moments that we lose sight of the fact that we're just looking for Parshas Yisro moments, and we're not interested in Parshas Mishpatim moments. And every moment is a Parshas Mishpatim moment because it's just the regular, everyday things that we're supposed to be doing. And that's, again, I think the lesson from the 2004 Pistons. Torah is not interested in a highlight reel. You have a highlight move? Great. You have a highlight moment? Gewaldig. But that's not what we're aiming for. We're not aiming for highlights. We're aiming for everyday success. That's one component of the Pistons' success. The other component of their success, I think, in my wildest dreams, I think that Larry Brown, as a Jewish coach, gave a pep talk quoting Psukim. That's my wildest dreams. I don't know if that's true. That's what I dream happened in the huddles over there. But in the special Haftarah, right, we know we're going in Adar, or in preparation for Adar, so we have Parshas Shkalim. Purpose of the Shkalim is both as a census of Klal Yisrael, and also that everybody should participate in the communal korbanos. So everyone gives money to the Beis Hamikdash. The Kli Yakar says what we're reminded of in Parshas Shkalim is that each person is ultimately not whole, and we need everyone else to become whole. That I'm not whole by myself, I need everyone else together. This is what the Pistons' success was, playing the team game. There's a fascinating story they tell about Rav Chaim Brisker. Rav Chaim was once collecting, just so we know, Rav Chaim was known as an outstanding lamdan, introducing a new world of Gemara analysis, but Rav Chaim was known more as a Bal Chesed. I think on his kever it says Rav Chesed, that's all he wanted to say. So Rav Chaim was once collecting for some tzedakah, and I don't know, let's say he needed $1,000. So he's knocking on doors, and he says, do you have $10? Do you have $10? Do you have $10? And he gives his pitch, what the cause is, why it's so important. So he gets to someone's house, and he gives the pitch, and the person says, how much do you need? We're raising $1,000. I've got $50 already. I've been to 5 houses they've given. We need $950 more. So the guy says, I'll give you $950. I'm moved by the cause. I see that it's important for you. I'm doing okay. I'll give you $950. Rav Chaim said, I asked for 10. He said, no, I understand you asked for 10. I want to give you $950. He said, Rav Chaim, I'm not taking it. So he said, why not? At the end of the day, it's the same amount of money. What's the difference? So Rav Chaim said, you're right. If I take the $950 from you, we'll have the money. You know what we won't have? We won't have a tzibur of givers. We won't have a tzibur of givers. We're enabling people to give, to be participants, to all be aiming towards this goal. I'm trying to continue the Masara. So my sons would play basketball a few times a week. So in the neighborhood. So I try and go at the end. I was so pleased with what I saw a few weeks ago. They had to play, but before they were allowed to shoot, you had to make 3 passes. Now with 7-year-olds, 3 passes is a big challenge. So I said to them, isn't that amazing? What we're teaching it's not just about scoring, it's about everybody being involved to score. That's the most that we're learning. It's not just about how we get there, it's that everyone should be involved. Before Shavuos, we always read Parshas Bamidbar. Parshas Bamidbar is a national census. So many are bothered, why are we reading about Parshas Bamidbar? What does that have to do with an introduction to Shavuos, to Kabbalah Satar Sinai? So I heard this from, when I learned in the Mirror, my Rebbe, Rav Resnick. So he said, there's a medrash. The medrash says that Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, when he would give shiur, he would wait till everyone came into the room before he started shiur. I don't know if that's a good idea for everyone. Some people might be waiting a long time till shiur starts. But he would wait. So they asked him, why? Why are you waiting? So Rabbi Yehuda Nasi said, We're about to have a communal learning, Talmud Torah Rabbeim. It's a Har Sinai type of experience. We need everyone here. We can't have Shir start. We can't have a Kabbalah Torah without you there. We need everyone there. And that's, by the way, I remember what Rav Resnick did also in Shir. Rav Resnick would wait outside the Shir room. The Shir room was in the Chadaracha. Okay? Good schnitzel always. He would wait outside till everyone came. We have to start. But we're starting with everyone here. You need to have everyone here for the Kabbalah Torah. Maybe this is also the explanation as we're leading up to Purim and the idea of the Shkalim. Rabbi Przensky yesterday quoted the Gemara in Megillah, which says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu understood that Haman would attack the Jewish people, and so he preempted that and gave us the antidote, which is the Machzis HaShekel. Why is the Machzis HaShekel? So the Kli Yakar explains that Amalek is only able to attack us, Amalek as Haman's great-great-grandfather, when Klal Yisrael is not in a state of togetherness. When there's cracks, when there's divisions, so that's when Amalek can weed its way in. The Maharal explains this in other places. So going back to the Pistons, there were no cracks. Everyone was together. This one's struggling because who can cover Shaq? So everyone's running over. Oh, the ball went the other way, so everyone runs to the other side, back and forth. If we cover the gaps, then the Goliath of the Lakers has no chance against us. So those are two lessons from the 2004 Pistons. Parshas Mishpatim, the everyday grind, that's the success. And Parshas Shkalim, we have to be together to do it. The fundamentals. I just want to take it one step further. If you think about it, there's a tremendous pressure that exists if you take this approach. Let's use another basketball model. There are certain teams where if it's late in the game and you have to make a shot, you know who the ball's going to. The ball's going to Magic Johnson's hands. There's no one else going. Larry Bird is taking the shot. It's for sure. With the Pistons, you didn't know who was going to take the shot, or even who should take the shot. Okay, if everyone's holding Ben Wallace, he was not taking the shot. But someone knows what I'm talking about. But okay, 4 out of 5 guys on the court were absolutely, you had no idea. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. Everyone's got to show up. Everyone's got to be present. Everyone's got to be ready. It's not. I can't just defer to Magic. So, if we take that for ourselves, the same thing becomes true. We're all working on ourselves. We need to remind ourselves it's not just about how I get there in the end, the fancy, the highlights, the here and now, the everyday, the basics, the fundamentals. Whether that's basics, fundamentals in terms of learning, Rabbi Lerner likes talking about don't skip levels. Whether that's basics, fundamentals in terms of showing up, putting in the effort. Whether that's basics in terms of derech eretz. But we're working towards that. We're building. At the same time, there's a tremendous responsibility because if we're playing the team game, so it's not your responsibility, or my responsibility. It's everyone's together. And part of the team game is realizing where everybody is, realizing everybody's strengths and weaknesses, and engaging with everyone at the same time, bringing them in. Because if you're just playing if you're playing 1 on 5, you're the one against everyone else. So I don't need to know where everyone else is. But if I'm playing the team game, I need to have an awareness of everyone else. I need to broaden my horizons about what I'm looking for, and how I engage with the world. I think just to close, I think this is something to think about as we go on to a tiyul. Part of a tiyul is a moment to step out, is to do something a little bit different. But to what end? It's about broadening my horizons. It's about seeing the broader network of our little bubble and connecting with that. Understanding the different pieces, understanding how I fit there, and also making sure that everyone comes along with. Because ultimately, in order to have a successful tiyul, in order to have a successful Kabbalah Torah, we need to understand that everyone's there together, and we need everyone working together, bringing their own uniqueness to our little enterprise in order to be successful.